What is happening? Welcome back to another edition of Pursuit of Freedom here on Finding Freedom. I am your host for today, John Odermatt, and I'm excited, guys. It's been a little while since I've talked to you. I think it was last Thursday when last time I did a Pursuit of Freedom, and a lot has happened. Specifically, a lot has happened within the past 24 hours, which I will talk about. But first, I did want to share something really cool that happened to me a few days ago. I was reading my devotional. For those of you watching the video on Spotify or YouTube or Rumble, when I have this on Rumble, which will be very soon, I'm holding up my devotional, Strong and Courageous, 365 Daily Devotions for Fathers. It was a gift for Father's Day this past year. And I haven't been reading it every day. I need to, because every time I read it, I get so much out of it. But I'm going to read the one from August 11th, so 2 days ago. And this hit me like a train, man. And it was what I absolutely needed to hear. And I'll read it for you now. So first starts out with the title of Hope, and then a Bible verse from Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a dream fulfilled is a tree of life. And then I'll read the devotional here, a deep dive on this verse. So don't put off hope. It's far too easy for our worries to shush the dreaming voice that asks, what if? We then delay in pursuing our deepest desires under the guise of safety or prudence. God invites us into adventure, and we reply with someday in quotes. Replacing hope with waiting leads to an unhealthy life. True peace comes from seizing the invitation to live a God-centered life. It almost always requires risk, but the reward is the rich and satisfying life we were created to live. Our children will not be shaped by someday, but they will be forever transformed by a father who dares to ask, what if? And I will just add to that. I've heard before, and I've talked about Ed Milet before on the show, a podcast who I listened to, who is also a Christian. And he talks about the need to chase your dreams in life and take risks in life. And in not doing so, and setting that example for your children, that you're someone who plays it safe, that you're someone who always says someday. I'm putting up air quotes for those who just listening to the audio. Those who do that, you are doing a disservice to your children, to the extent that, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but some would say it is a mild form of child abuse, as you're putting up such a poor example of someone who is afraid to chase their dreams, is afraid to take risks, that you, by setting that example, you are passing that trait on to your children. So when I read that devotional, it hit me like a train. I feel like I am on the right track here with the decisions that I'm making. I felt that way beforehand, and I feel even more that way now. To get into some of the content for today's episode, like I said, a lot has been going on. I'll give some hints at some stuff to come, and also talk about some interesting conversations and content that I have consumed recently or participated in on the conversation standpoint. I'll start with most recent. I just got off the phone right before this call with a regional sales rep for Ice House America, talking about putting an ice vending machine in the Pittsburgh area. And he was excited as I was to put an ice machine in the Pittsburgh area. It's interesting talking to these different ice vending machine outfits, and some of them are really just marketing up front and don't give you a lot of a lot of guidance or even a lot of research, or they just want to sell you the ice machine and you can figure out the rest, which that's okay in some investments. And, I understand a lot of things in life are like that. But when it comes to putting an ice machine somewhere, a couple of different things. You want to make sure that one, your location is correct. You want to make sure, two, that the size ice machine that you're putting in is going to be maximized so that it's not getting depleted every single day and you're leaving money on the table. You don't want to put a small ice machine in an area that needs, a larger ice machine. You're leaving money on the table. And Ice House America, at least the regional rep that I talked to today, I talked to the guy for over an hour. And he took me through all different parts of Pittsburgh on the map, looking at actual locations where we could put them, talking through, different access points and highways and, the density of the blue collar workers in the area. It was night and day different than any other conversation I'd had with a sales rep anywhere else. Their ice machines are top of the line. They are also expensive. You're going to pay for it. But, there's ways to do it, and there's ways to maneuver the finances that I have to make it happen. So if I were to say today what I'm going to do, I would say 90% sure that I'm going to go with Ice House America and make this happen. I'm excited about it, and I probably will put the first one in the Pittsburgh area. Maybe I'll put two in the Pittsburgh area, and then eventually expand out to State College in the next months and years ahead. But it was exciting, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm more stoked now about the ice vending business than ever before. I did have someone reach out to me and they want me to talk about why I picked ice vending. I'm actually going to dedicate my next episode, which will not be tomorrow. It'll actually be on Thursday. I'll dedicate my entire episode on Thursday to that. I think I'm going to title it Ice Ice Baby, but we'll wait and see. Might tweak that title a little bit. So you'll get to learn about, why I chose ice vending, why I think it's a great business for me right now. I'm not saying it's going to be great for you, but I think ice vending as a whole is a business, is a market that it's already exploding, but it's going to really, really blow up in the coming decade here. So what else is going on? I watched some real estate content from a guy named Pace Morby, who I've followed for a while, but I signed up for, I guess, DM'd on one of his videos on Instagram to get more information. And he sent me a follow-up video, which broke down how he makes money. And if you're not a real estate person, this might not make sense to you because I'm not going to go into it in detail at all like he did. All I will say is if this at all kind of triggers, some sparks flying in your brain, I would encourage you to check out Pace Morby yourself. I set up a call with his team for tomorrow. Yeah, I might have to move that actually. To talk to someone on his team about learning his ways, to put it that way. But essentially, what he does is he buys and he sells with seller financing, essentially. So what he's able to do, say someone is trying to sell their house, maybe they just bought their house within the past 2 to 3 years. They maybe bought it with no down payment, so they built up no equity. But they're selling because they have a job in another city, so they got to get out. So you have a realtor typically, people sell through realtors. A realtor comes in, and what happens is when the realtor's selling the house, they aren't able to get enough money for that buyer to not have to write a check out of pocket. And that's not fun when you sell a house. You're used to getting some money back and putting that towards your next house, or at least getting some money back if you already bought your next house. You're not used to writing a check when you don't have the equity. And that's the situation that a lot of people are in right now. But the one thing this guy has going for him, this seller in this example, is he has a 2.652 interest rate. So what you're able to do with creative financing is come in and actually buy the mortgage off of him. And I'm not going to get all the terminology correct here, but essentially what you're doing is you're giving him a certain amount of money, $10,000, $20,000, to take on his mortgage rate. You're you're actually not buying the mortgage off of him. He's still going to own the mortgage. It's an agreement between you and the seller. He's still owning the mortgage. You are just taking on the payments. And what you're able to do, which probably is very confusing because I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, is that you're then able to take on that rate. Maybe there's some renovations or something that needs done to the house. You can go out and you can get some private money to fund that and rent out the house to cover what you're paying for the what you're paying on the mortgage rate, which is much lower than you would get now because you're paying 6% mortgage rate if you're going to go out and try to get a house with traditional finance. But if you can get someone else's mortgage rate and get their payment when it's 2.5%, 3%, there's certain niche opportunities for this. I think if a house has been on the market for 100, 150 days, if you have someone that doesn't have equity in their house, there's opportunities to use this, which I did a horrible job explaining it. So go check out Pace Morby. That's all I will say if you're all interested in real estate. The third thing I will say that I'm very excited about is I did have some great ideas for my podcast consulting business, podcast production business. I think it's probably a better term than consulting now, the more I flesh this out in my mind. And I will just also add this. It's been very important to me that since I was laid off, that I've had some time here to really think. And yesterday I went with my wife and my daughter to an amusement park just east of Pittsburgh. My directions are off. East of Pittsburgh, called Idlewild. And it's a very laid back day. Grilling our own food, went to the pool, rode some rides, grilled more food before we came home. And it really gave me some time to think about, what do I want to do? And my mind was just absolutely clear, especially with regards, I was kind of focusing my thinking yesterday on the podcasting. And with podcasting, I can edit podcasts in my sleep. I can edit the audio and video in my sleep. Now with the help of AI, I can put together reels and YouTube shorts and TikToks very, very quickly. I can write emails. I can write show notes pages very, very quickly with the help of AI. So the service that I think I want to offer, at least to start with, is for businesses or people who already are making money on a podcast, just to take away the burden of having to do any of the editing work, any of the marketing work, and just say, I will do all of that for you. And what I'm going to call it is Podcast Pilot. I've already bought the domain, thepodcastpilot.com, and I'm going to be the pilot that flies your podcast editing. Of course, it's your podcast, but anyone who's going to opt into this, all they're going to have to do is send me the audio and video files, and they'll get everything else done for them. Of course, I'll have different price points, for everything to be done, for maybe just for the editing to be done, not including the marketing videos and show notes and emails and whatnot. But I think it's a pretty good idea. And there's other businesses like that out there because it is a need. But I think with my experience and what I can bring to the table, with the amount of downloads that I've had over the years and the amount of people I've interviewed and the amount of podcasts I've released, I think it's a good way to bring in income. So in the near term, I'm going to focus on getting that off the ground. Get it off the ground. That's what I'm doing. Get that? And also continue to focus on my Plexus business, because that is going to be my income. I need to have income. So it's got to come from Podcast Pilot, and Plexus. And then as I build, eventually it's going to be Ice Machine, which Ice Machine investments are going to come from funded from my long-term investments, not coming out of my current pocket, current income. And then real estate things as well, which I'm also excited about. Tons of stuff going on. The only thing that is kind of nerve-wracking right now is I don't have as much income coming in as I need. But we do have savings. We have some to lean back on there. I need to get that built up to the point that I feel comfortable. But I'm excited. I'm excited about the way things are trending. I'm excited about the future. I'm excited to be working for myself, and I have hope. And I'm no longer deferring hope. I am taking action today to make things happen. And if you're someone who is taking action, if you're someone who wants to take action but isn't, you can do it. I mean, I'm not telling you to go out and quit your job. Don't do that, but do something. Take some action to get closer to your dream, and take action every day. That's all I have for today for you guys. I'll be back on Thursday with another episode to do a deep dive on ice vending. But in the meantime, keep fighting. I'll do the same.